Hi, good morning. Good morning. Welcome in to Baseball and Coffee with me, Adam Ottavino. It is an MLB Friday, so we are streaming on the MLB YouTube channel today. Very exciting to have a lot of new people in the chat and check us out, see what we got going on. My coffee today came from my buddy Tristan Best, which was one of my teammates at Northeastern in college. The Serene Bean Mountain Blend, certified organic fair trade from Pinecrest, California. So that's what we're rocking today in my cup as we get into some fun baseball topics today. We had a crazy day yesterday. That is excellent. We had a crazy day yesterday with the trade deadline. The two main topics we're going to get into today are one, the reliever arms race, because there's been a crazy relievers arms race the last few days, as well as Carlos Correa going back to Houston. If we have enough time, we'll watch George Kirby pitch a little bit last night. There was only 3 games on the docket last night. Everybody's playing today, including, I believe, the Speedway game happening, Reds and Braves today from Tennessee. So a lot of stuff to get into, but we're going to get started the same way that we always do, which is by checking the standings. And hey, it's August 1st, 2 months left to go in this season before the postseason. Everybody's going to get a little energy boost from the trade deadline just occurring. But then we get into the dog days of summer. The month of hate, as we used to call it, with the Mets is August, before the month of love, which is September, as the team gears towards October. So here is the State of the Union in the standings. August 1st, Toronto 3.5 up on the Yankees, 5 up on the Red Sox in the AL East. Tampa lagging behind, as well as Baltimore. Detroit 9 up on Cleveland, who did not trade Stephen Kwan. Thank goodness for the Guardians fans out there. That would have been a very sad day. Kansas City, another half game behind them. They're both in the wild card race. We'll get to that in a second. Houston, 4.5 up on Seattle, 5.5 up on Texas. Can either of them catch Houston? Seattle's banking on it. They made some good moves at the deadline. So did Texas. So did Houston. So all 3 teams think they have a good shot there. Angels kind of actually went in a little bit with a half measure as well. Mets, half game up on the Phillies. That's going to be a battle the whole way through. Mets did just get swept in San Diego. And we'll see how they get started in August. Milwaukee and the Cubs, these 2 teams just played. Milwaukee won that series. That's why they're 1 game up on the Cubs. Neither team went as heavy that I thought they would at the deadline, so we'll see how that shakes out. Cincinnati's a team I have my eye on, but they're still kind of in the background a little bit in the divisional race. Dodgers, 3 up on the Padres, who are suddenly red hot, and the Giants have fallen to 9 backs. That's pretty sad. Now, it is August, so we are allowed to look at the wild card races finally. I don't like to look at them until August, but here we go. Yankees, if it ended today, Yankees, Red Sox, and Mariners would be in. Rangers are 1 out, Cleveland 3 out, Kansas City 3.5 out, Tampa and the Angels are all within 4.5. So all those teams think they have a shot. Pretty wide open in the American League. National League, if it ended today, it would be the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Padres getting in there with the Reds 3.5 back. So I think what we saw a little bit in deadline, especially in the NL, was a lot of teams really pushing in, seeing the vulnerability of their league this year and feeling like they can kind of get to it. They can kind of get to where they need to go. So welcome in. Thanks for joining me today. First topic we are going to get into today is the reliever arms race. I made a little list. This isn't all the relievers moved, but I put the relievers into 3 tiers. Put them into 3 tiers. And you can see them right here. I got tier 1 of the players that were moved are Helsley, Duran, and Miller. I got tier 2 being Jax, Duvall, Bednar. Tier 3, Tyler Rogers, Jake Bird, Shelby Miller, Danny Coulomb, Phil Maton, and Mr. Kittredge. Now, the way that I've done these tiers is, this is not the actual thing that I want to show you. Hold on a sec. Let me go to my files. So weird. Anyway, the reason why I made these tiers, the first reason is I think the first tier, these guys, Helsley, Duran, and Miller, those are all 3 guys that are not only nasty, but also have been relatively consistent over the last calendar year. And those are definitely the 3 guys that you can most clearly see getting possibly the last out of the World Series this year. Helsley now with the Mets, Duran now with the Phillies, and Mason Miller now with the Padres. So those are my top 3. And then in my next tier, I have Griffin Jacks, who I have a double star next to him because the Rays are kind of on the outside looking in, and I think this is more of a long-term move, but he's a stud, so I just couldn't push him back to tier 3. Doval and Bednar are also guys that have the stuff. They have the ability to maybe get to tier 1, but they've been a little bit inconsistent over the past calendar year. Now, tier 3, all these guys are shoving. Like, by the numbers, they could all be tier 1 guys as well. These guys have been awesome. I love Rogers. I love Bird. I love Shelby Miller. I love Coulomb. I love all these guys. Maton Kittredge. The issue is none of those guys have the stuff necessarily to go to another level in the playoffs. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You need to go to another freaking level sometimes, right? So if we get into the Stuff Plus rankings, and what Stuff Plus it is an attempt to grade a pitcher's stuff based on the pitch movement, the velocity, the angles, etc., and assign a number to it, right? So as you can see, the Mets clearly valued this Stuff Plus metric, and maybe they have a similar one in their own system, because Ryan Helsley is number 1 in the sport as a reliever at Stuff Plus at 129, and Tyler Rogers is number 3. So I said he didn't have the stuff. Listen, he has the stuff. I'm not hitting on Tyler Rogers. Actually, my favorite reliever that was traded at the deadline, because I love the way he throws, and we can get into that in a little bit. But you know, he's first percentile in velo. He literally throws 83 miles an hour, and his game is going to be contact. And in the playoffs, you want some strikeouts. So that's why I didn't put him in the tier 1, but you can see some of the other guys that were. Mason Miller, 123. Yohan Duran, 123. So those are all my tier 1 guys. And there's some other guys that get into this leaderboard that were traded as well. Jake Bird coming in at 116. I don't think a lot of people realize that this guy has this type of stuff. But I want to get into the chat a little bit. And I want to know from you guys, who do you think was the best reliever moved at the deadline yesterday? Because it was obviously crazy. It was a flurry of moves made. And I think I'm leaning towards Duran to the Phillies. I think he's the most complete of the packages. He has the stuff. Also, he's been the most consistent. But I could easily be wrong here. Every single one of these guys is nasty and fully capable of going on a 2.5, 3 month run and, really making a huge difference for the team that just acquired them. So Helsley I had in the top tier, and I want to show you guys a little bit of what I was investigating with Ryan Helsley. I still have him in the top tier. He's been really, really good, but his fastball's been getting hit a little bit. Now the shape, let me actually just break this down fully for you guys. All right, we'll go over to Helsley's StatCast page. Now, if we go down here to run values by pitch type. So this year, his slider has been amazing. It's got a positive 10 run value, which is super dominant. The league's hitting 0.92 off of his slider. However, with the four-seam fastball this year, it's been a different story. It's -5 run value this year. They're hitting 406 off of it and slugging 522. So the fastball has been completely ineffective, so I wanted to research that a little bit. And the first thing I did was I went and tried to look at the pitch movements to see if there was any difference in the shape of these pitches, because that's a big factor, obviously. Is the fastball still the same fastball? Well, in 2024, when he had a dominant fastball, he was averaging 17.5 vertical break and 3.4 arm side horizontal break at 99.6 miles an hour. This year, he's at 17.6 vertical break and 2.3 inches of horizontal break to the arm side at 99.3 miles an hour. So it's virtually the same fastball movement-wise. So it's a little bit of a curious case. Is it a location thing? I started thinking maybe it's a location thing. And granted, this is one of the issues with following baseball and why I wanted to start this show, is you cannot possibly watch every game and every pitcher to understand the context of what they are going through. All we can do is kind of dig through the stats a little bit for the most part. So let's look at his four-seam location this year. Well, looks an awful lot like right down the middle to me. Let's see where he was going last year with the four-seam. Also right down the middle, so that doesn't give us any information either. Now I'm thinking we need to dig into the fastball a little more and see what type of hits he's actually gotten in. So I went ahead and I preloaded that screen last night. This is all the hits that Helsley has allowed this year over 97 miles an hour. So they're fastballs, right? And we can go in and we can take a look. Here's the only home run he's allowed on a fastball, and I'm pretty sure this is the only home run that this guy has all year. Just a middle heater, challenge heater to a guy who doesn't hit homers, and in this case, he actually drops the head on it. So that's the only extra base hit. And honestly, with the numbers and the run value where it was, I was expecting to see extra base hits all over the board. But really, there's just a few balls down the line, a couple doubles. So let's watch these. Here's my guy Harrison Bader with a little ground ball double over towards the corner.
To third and into the corner.
So there's a ground ball that finds a hole. Obviously, ground ball could go at a fielder or it could not. A lot of that's out of the pitcher's hands. And then there's this double. This is a single, but here's an example of single. So he's given up 23 singles on his fastball this year. And I know some of them have been hit hard, and I know a lot of them have been poked pretty good. But for the most part, I have to say, like, this feels like a little bit of bad luck. Let's see.
Drake's got 11 home runs.
Let's watch a couple of these hits.
And he's got a base hit.
Does seem like there's a lot of misses to the lower part of the strike zone on the balls that are actually getting put in play here. There's an Iglesias. And guys definitely willing to go the other way on him. So I'm pretty sure the Mets are going to probably try to move his fastball locations a little bit more to the up-in quadrant versus righties, and lefties probably up-away. That would be an adjustment I would make when receiving this player. But you can see, got a lot of guys getting fortunate. Yeah, like he got jammed there. Joey Bart got jammed on this ball, ends up flicking it into right for a hit. And a lot of guys, you know, feeling confident enough to go the other way. This is going to be another mistake down, I believe. Yeah, so he's given up hits down on the fastball. And it's interesting because the down fastball sets up the chase on the slider. But, I mean, that would be project number one if I were Jeremy Hefner and the Mets guys who are getting Helsley in their system now. It's just figuring out where to go with the fastball, where we can get better results with the fastball. So that's something that I'm kind of wondering a little bit about with Helsley, but I still do have him, as you guys can see, in my top tiers here of my trade tiers. And let's see in the chat what you guys think. Who was the best reliever moved at the deadline? We got Mason Miller in the chat. We got a couple votes for David Bednar. We got Doval. Yeah, and so honestly, all of these guys could be super, super, super nasty. And let's go look at a few of them. Helsley, Duran, Miller, who are in my top two tiers. But I think we should look at Doval and Bednar because those two guys have they've been a little bit inconsistent over the last 2 years. But let's not forget that these guys were all-stars in the past. Now, Doval was actually sent down to the minor leagues at one point last year. It's a really interesting pitch mix. Here's the movement profile. His main pitch is this slider, so it's a cutter slider. The fastball has natural cut action to it, and it doesn't have a lot of lift. And then the slider is just like a different version with a little more break off of it. But it's very, very fast. 98-1 on that cutter, 89-1 on the slider, and he mixes in the sinker, which I believe he was throwing a little bit more in previous years. Let's see. So this year he's 5.7 on the sinker. Last year he was 13.8. Year before that, 29.7. So there's been a conscious choice here to lessen Doval's sinker usage. And the results have been a lot better this year. He got sent, like I mentioned, he got sent down to the minor leagues last year. Came up this year. Ryan Walker was closing for the Giants. Doval ended up taking that back over. He's got 15 saves on the year. It's a weird profile. It's a low arm slot. As you can see, 16-degree arm angle. And now the Yankees are getting them, and they're a very smart team. So I'm very curious to see what they kind of do with it. You know, do they alter his grips a little bit? Do they try to add a pitch a little bit? But the reason why I have him in tier 2 and not tier 1, even though he's bounced back this year, is just this number right here. It's the walk percentage, sixth percentile in walks. And as we all know, walks will come back to kill you in tight, close games. Yankee Stadium can be a pressure cooker. I want to know if this is going to elevate his game, or if it's going to hurt his game. And it's impossible to know until you put the pinstripes on and you jog out on that field a few times in big spots. So Doval's the first guy I wanted to look at a little bit. As you can see on the numbers, huge ground ball rate, 52.2% ground ball rate. That's kind of his game. Getting grounders. He gets his strikeouts just because he throws hard. But it's kind of a spray the zone type of approach. And the second guy I wanted to look at, who the Yankees also got, was David Bednar. Now, David Bednar, I've known him a long time. Good dude. Played with him Team USA in the WBC the last time through, and he was the 8th inning guy right in front of Devin Williams. And now they're reunited in New York. So I think that's a good fit in terms of knowing people. But also, this is another one who was actually sent down this year, early in the year, and last year he struggled. And when I dug into him a little bit, I noticed one major change. And the one major change was his curveball usage. So last season, if you look by his usage numbers, the four seam was the number one pitch at 55%, and the split was the number two pitch at 24%. But this year, the four seam is still the number one pitch, but now the curveball has become the number two pitch, 35%. I think this is important for a number of reasons. But the biggest reason is because it's 20 miles an hour slower than his fastball. 97.1 on the fastball, 77.7 on the curveball. When you have a 20 mile an hour speed differential, that makes it really hard for a hitter to kind of sit in between and cover both. He's going to have to make a decision. I'm hunting fastball or I'm hunting curveball. And if you're wrong, you have no shot of hitting the other one. So it kind of gets the hitter into a guessing game a little bit, and he's able to read those at-bats through. And that's where I think Bednar's done a good job adjusting. This year, he's always had an excellent walk rate. This is no different. 77th percentile in walk rate, 33% strikeout rate. He's another one. The Yankees are going to get him, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him and how they make him go. I assume he's going to be pitching mostly the 7th or 8th inning. I don't think he's a big guy that they like to bring in a lot with guys on base. Let's see how he is in the running game. Yeah, he's not great in the running game, so he's probably not a fireman candidate too often, maybe second and third when you're looking for a punchy. But Yankees went big at the deadline. They got these two guys, and then another guy who actually had in tier 3, but easily could have been in tier 2 because he's such a unique player, is Mr. Jake Bird, who I'm sure most people don't know who this guy is. If I could just type. Because he plays for the Rockies. Obviously, I have a little bit of experience of that. I played for the Rockies for 7 years, and it does feel like nobody knows that you guys even play baseball games, and they are having a horrible year. But this man now just jumped into the Bronx, into Yankee Stadium. And if you don't know, don't pay any attention to these ERA numbers on the left side of your screen. These don't matter. What matters is his stuff, his approach, his process stats. So they're all pretty good. A little too high on the walks, but I expect that to be a little better now that he's dealing with one elevation instead of constantly going back from sea level back to mile high. Sea level, mile high, that's a really hard thing to juggle. But he's got really nasty stuff. He, as we saw in the Stuff Plus rankings, he's well above average, and I think a lot of it is driven off of this sinker, which is this pitch. And if you can see, it's below this horizontal line, which means it's getting negative vertical drop, which means it has extreme amount of drop. I see in the chat that somebody comments that he has a great beard. Do you think he will still have that same beard for the Yankees, or will he trim it up a little bit? I know they are allowing beards, but they don't like guys to be too shaggy. I hope he tries to let it ride. You got to let him be who he is. I didn't realize he was a UCLA guy, though. Oh, I can get with Garrett a little bit, Garrett Cole, and see maybe you can get some advice for him. I mean, they are totally different pitchers, so maybe don't listen to Garrett on this one. I don't know. We'll see. So anyway, Yankees got all three of those guys, Doval, Bednar, Bird, to add to what was already a pretty high upside, pen. They really need Fernando Cruz back. He's kind of the secret weapon this year, but Weaver, Devin Williams, those guys have been up and down this year. They've taken on a little bit of water lately, but they're still elite. Tim Hill, awesome guy as well. So I really like what the Yankees did. What team do you think what team do you think will improve the most based off the relievers they acquired? I would love to know, because now we've got a lot of answers. There's been a lot of Mason Millers in the chat. There's been a lot of David Bednars in the chat. But what team do you think this will make a biggest difference from? I actually think the Mets. So we can get into a few of the Mets relievers too. We already looked at Helsley, but I want to look at Rogers. And I looked at him yesterday a little bit on the show when I was streaming it over on my channel yesterday. But in case you don't realize, Tyler Rogers throws underhand. negative 60-degree arm angle, which means every single thing that he throws comes from an angle that literally nobody else has in the big leagues. And this is why he's my favorite guy this year. The slider has positive movement, these yellow dots, and the sinker has just incredible drop, straight down drop, almost like a curveball type of action, but obviously at a faster speed. So I think this was a huge move. Also, this is a guy who can post all day long, and Carlos Mendoza tends to be a hot hand manager. Like if a guy's hot, he's going to ride him into the ground. And Tyler Rogers can handle that type of abuse because he has led the major leagues in games 3 or 4 times in his career. He's got 53 games already this year, but that's light work for him. He's been at the 80 level, I think once or twice, which is actually crazy because that's literally half the games. Really, if he throws 60 games out of the pen, that's considered getting the job done. But that's why I would say the Mets. They also picked up Soto, who's a lefty who throws hard. So they end up with Edwin Diaz closing, Helsley now setting up, Rogers, Stanek, Raley, Soto, Reed Garrett all in the mix. That's kind of a super pen, so that's kind of my vote, is I think the Mets are probably the team that improved their odds the most. And I think this was something that they realized that they needed to do after the way last year played out. The relief pitchers, myself included, kind of struggled a little bit down the stretch. Everybody was kind of worn out, on fumes, a little inconsistent, and that really showed up in that Dodgers series. But another question for the chat would be, do you think that teams are pivoting towards this relief strategy a little bit more because of the success the Dodgers had in the playoffs last year, bullpenning? Essentially, they bullpenned the last 2 games against the Padres when they gave up no runs and eliminated them. They bullpenned 1 or 2 games in the series against the Mets. When I was there, I remember watching Kopech start a game against us. I think it was Game 6, actually, in LA, and the route to the World Series. So the bullpenning strategy had been kind of poo-pooed a little bit over the previous few years, but then last year it seemed to really rear its head back out again as the Dodgers kind of rode that strategy all the way to the championship. So I don't know. I'm wondering if that's a big factor. There's been some talk in the chat about me looking at Griffin Jax. Yes, now Griffin Jax, one of my favorite pitchers in the big leagues. This guy's filth. Absolute filth. He's got a crazy pitch mix. It's mainly his off-speed pitches that grade out crazy high in the stuff metrics. It's that sweeper, and it's this changeup. And actually, we can go look at that really quick because he is going to be in here somewhere. Yeah, Griffin Jax is number 1 by pitching plus metric on Fangraphs, which is kind of takes into account your stuff plus and your location plus. This is a complicated formula, and I'm not even sure if I really even believe in it, to be honest with you. But his stuff plus slider, 117, stuff plus curveball, 174. So I guess that's the sweeper. I don't know what that is. Curveball? He throws a curveball? Anyway, stuff plus changeup is above average. The sinker's above average. He also throws a 4-seam, which is below average, but it's gas. So even if you're going to have a below average 4-seam, you might as well throw it 96.9. And anyway, he's had a weird year. 4.5 ERA through his first 50 games. But look at that. 46 innings, 72 punchies. He's literally 100th percentile in chase rate. He's 99th percentile in whiff rate, 98th percentile in K rate. So there's an awful lot to like here. His hard hit percentage is a little too high, 44.6%. So I think Tampa's getting him. Tampa historically helps guys kind of simplify their game. And, you know, Jax has gotten to a point where now he's featuring 5 pitches. Maybe they trim that to 4. Maybe they come up with a new plan in terms of pitch usage and optimization. But I'm also curious if this wasn't a sneaky move to move Griffin Jax to the rotation. Given this pitch mix, given his recent durability, given his athleticism, I think he could be a starting pitcher in the vein of a Michael King or a Seth Lugo or a Clay Holmes, who have made the conversion recently. And this might be a move because they did give up Taj Bradley, who's only 24 and still very, very hyped, I would say, as a prospect for Jax. So if it's just a one-off reliever starter trade, that seems a little weird to me, but I do think Griffin Jax could end up in the rotation. So he's another one I really wanted to dig in on. But what's crazy is when I was looking at yesterday in the tier list that I had here, and I looked at some of these names in the tier 3, like they're having ridiculously good seasons. Like, I don't know if you guys have noticed, This guy right here who just went to the Rangers, Danny Coulomb. It's not qualified yet, but he's got red all the way to the very tippy top and everything except for velo and extension. And if you look at his last 3 years, I mean, what's not to love here? 2.81 in 2023 for the Orioles, 2.12 last year, and now he's at a 1.16 through 40 games. So this was a sneaky good pickup, under the radar pickup for the Rangers as they continue to chase the Astros and the Mariners a little bit in that AL West. So that really stuck out. And then my guy Phil Maton, who I played with last year with the Mets, he's been unbelievable by these metrics with the Cardinals. Look at his numbers. I mean, he's as red as his undershirt there. Literally 99th percentile and average exit velo, 98th expected batting average, 96th expected ERA. This is another guy who doesn't throw hard, but he really knows how to pitch, man. He really knows how to spin the ball. This is another sneaky pickup by the Rangers. So there's some teams that went a little under the radar, but there's nothing under the radar about these metrics. These are crazy. So I wanted to point that out. There's some guys that I had on the list here that are a little bit overlooked, but they're having great years. Let me just poke at Shelby Miller real quick, because I think Shelby, who I've also known since the Cardinal days, also excellent. Look at that. All red on everything. He's got 97th percentile in chase. 1.98 ERA this year. You know, he doesn't walk. His walks are 57, so that's not great, but literally every metric's over average. And this is a sneaky little pickup for the Brewers. So this is kind of the Brewers' big move at the deadline. They just kind of added a strength to a strength. Their bullpen's already a strength with McGill, Uribe, Mears. Brewers have a lot of pitchers, and that's kind of their style. So I just wanted to highlight a few of these guys as well that, maybe are a little bit under the radar as everybody's so excited about. Mason Miller, Yohan Duran, and Ryan Helsley, and as well as Doval and Bednar. I guess those are kind of the famous names that when all former closers or current closers all throw close to 100 miles an hour and are super wipeout. And, typically I'm not a big velocity person. I don't care a lot about velo. But at the same time, I think in the playoffs, if you had your choice of like a dominant, softer throwing pitcher and a dominant, harder throwing pitcher, I think you'd go with the harder throwing pitcher. Because I do think sometimes you have to go to another place. You have to go to another level. And when the game tightens up and the focus gets more, serious in the playoffs, I do think that reaction time can make all the difference. And obviously you have a lot less reaction time as a hitter if you're facing 100, 101 miles an hour than you do facing 93. So in that case, I would definitely hedge velocity, although that's not my philosophy during the regular season, or I would say in general in baseball. I do think in the playoffs, that skill does tend to play up a little bit. In the chat, who can you imagine closing out the World Series this year that was just traded? Is there anybody? Okay, and also, while we're here, I'm going to get in the chat a little bit. Teams definitely operate a lot differently now. The Red Sox started the year with Crochet, Bayo, Howe, Crawford, Giolito, Fitz, Priester, Criswell, Sandoval, Buehler, and possible starters. Yes, they did. They'd had all of these different starters, and now they got Dustin May. They're kind of mixing, matching. They have Steven Matz in their pen now. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to watch all this arms race this year. Every team. I thought Boston was going to do more personally than what they did do. I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this deadline. They could have been better. For me, deadline winners overall, Yankees, Padres, big time Padres. I'm very happy that they pushed in. Mets as well. So those are my big three. All right, here we go. We got a question in the chat. When a team trades for a pitcher who needs to change his scenery due to underwhelming performance, what are the top 3 things they look to change for a performance upgrade that can help during the same season? Okay, yes, this is an excellent question. Now, one thing that's hard to change in the stream of a season, especially with 2 months to go, is like mechanics. So you're probably not going to do too much mechanically. I think you're going to look at, what are the red flags with this pitcher? Is it walk rate? Well, if it's walk rate, maybe let's look at what pitches in his arsenal does he actually throw over the plate versus which pitches is he struggling to throw over the plate, and then let's optimize in more of a fashion that allows him to throw the pitches over the plate that he's capable of throwing over the plate. The second thing I would worry about is targeting. And actually, let's go to the Dugout app real quick and let's just pick a random thing here. Now, ignore George Kirby here, it doesn't matter, but targeting is a big deal. if a guy is spraying his, hold up, well, we got to go back to the main screen. Targeting is a big deal. Ignore George Kirby here. Now, what teams are teaching now, and what I believe in, is with no strikes, and especially with nobody on base, you set up right down the middle. That way, if you miss a little bit to the right, you miss a little bit to the left, you're still in the strike zone. You miss a little up, you miss a little down, you're still in the strike zone. The big key, though, with targeting is sometimes to lead the pitcher into success. If you have a pitch that moves from right to left, you want to sometimes cheat the target a little bit further off the plate so that when the pitcher drives the ball at you and you know his miss pattern is towards the strike zone, you're going to get more strikes out of that. So a lot of times when a guy has a poor walk rate, it's a combination of throwing the wrong pitches, but also bad targeting decisions by the team. And I just wanted to show that a little bit because that's the first thing I would look at. The second thing that I would look at when I am evaluating a guy I just got and I'm trying to take him to the next level is optimizing the percentage of pitches he's throwing based off success. So like Shelby Miller, he's had a great year, but just for example, we look down here, the four-seam fastball's got 7 run value, and the splits at neutral, the sweepers at neutral, the sliders at neutral. So clearly you want to get all your outs with the fastball, and you're going to continue to feed the fastball, but the idea and what you're trying to do your big thinking on is what is the point of diminished returns? Like if he pushes the fastball up to 70%, is that too many? Is that too much? Or should he push it down to 60% and allow his other pitches to play more? And those are all the types of discussions that guys are having. And then the third thing is just the fixing the context of when a guy comes in the game. A lot of times a guy will get traded for, and maybe the staff he was on had no choice but to like have him face left-handers and right-handers when he's really more optimized to just face one or the other. New team gets him, and now they funnel him into lanes where he's more likely to have success. So those are 3 things that right away a team can do to help a guy improve upon arrival. And really that third one might be the most important. Just set him up better for success. Give him the better matchups. Give him the better situations where he's going to be able to really spread his wings. All right, what do we got in the chat here? Do you think the Mets will use both Ryan and Edwin in the 9th, or will Ryan mostly be a setup? I'd be stunned if Helsley jumped Edwin in the Mets bullpen just because Edwin's so ingrained as a closer. I think Helsley will throw clean 8th innings for the most part. Now, that's not to say they won't play the matchup smartly. If there's a matchup in the 8th inning coming up where Edwin's more suited, now they have a lot more freedom to pitch Edwin in the 8th, and then you can flip Helsley back to the 9th and close the game out. We did that a little bit with me and Edwin in 22. I think the heart of the order was coming up with some tough lefties, like it was like maybe the Braves or the Dodgers. Sometimes they'd fire Edwin in there in the 8th, and then they let me close the 9th, where I had a little better matchups. So now you have that possibility at least. Whereas before, I think Edwin was like several tiers above any other Mets reliever, and so they were a little bit operating on thin ice if something were to happen to Edwin. So I think this was so important to get the insurance, and I think even more so than the combo, it's really the insurance factor. Like if something were to happen to Edwin, you have Helsley. If something were to happen to Helsley, you still have Edwin. So I think we're kind of entering a phase with the Mets here where they have more flexibility out there in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings. But at the same time, I expect Diaz to remain the closer. Let's see what we got. How do you think the World Series teams from last year turned out, New York and Dodgers, especially in terms of pitchers? Well, I think from the Dodgers perspective, I mean, shoot, you go look at these standings. They only have a 3-game lead in the division. They got a plus 67 run differential, which is not really elite relative to the rest of the league. They're behind the Brewers, the Cubs, the Phillies are tied with them. The Rangers have the same run differential as the Dodgers this year. I think most people thought the Dodgers were headed for 110 wins, including myself. I thought they were shoo-in. That rotation that they had built to start off the year and bullpen on paper was probably the best I'd ever seen. Snell, Glasnow, Yamamoto, Ohtani. I'm sure I'm forgetting people. They had super duper starters every single night. And then in the pen, they added Kirby Yates. Trinan was out there. Vesia, Gratterall. A lot of guys got hurt. So I think that's the biggest issue with the Dodgers. Also, Mookie hasn't really performed the way he's used to performing. So I'm stunned that even though they're in first place, I'm stunned they're not way out in front. I thought they were going to be the best team in baseball by far this year. And it's just not been the case. And I think that's kind of what the other National League contenders are smelling a little bit, is that the Dodgers are vulnerable and this is a chance to strike. As for the Yankees, I don't think they came in this year with one of their best teams, but I also think they're being opportunistic with where they're at right now. They're in the playoffs right now. If it ended today, they can definitely chase down the Blue Jays. These moves by Cashman, I mean, and there was a lot of them. They not just the pitchers. They also got McMahon, which shored up their defense. They got Caballero, which is an under-the-radar move as well. This guy is one of the most annoying players in the league, and now they just added him to their roster. It gives them a different dimension. I think he leads the league in steals, 32 steals. He's a pest, and the Yankees need a pest. They need to kind of change up their dynamic a little bit, and I think Caballero was a smart move for them. Slater gives them a great righty to hit against lefties. He crushes lefties, so that's a platoon matchup type thing. They even got Ahmed Rosario, who brings a little bit of a different dynamic in terms of versatility and speed. So I really like what Cashman did, and I think the Yankees have a great opportunity moving forward. But I'm not necessarily sold that they came into this year with as good a team as they had last year, especially with Garrett going down. I think that's a big factor. You add Garrett Cole to this rotation, all of a sudden it's Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon. You're looking really, really good. But without him, somebody else is going to have to step up. Maybe it's Luis Gil. He's about to make his little comeback here, and we'll see. But that's my take on those two teams. What do we got here? Do you know why the Cardinals held on to Arenado? Well, I guess they just didn't get what they were looking for him. Big thing with these trades, and that's why, it's hard to comment on a lot of trades because teams are talking constantly, and there's so much projected value put into the mix when they're comparing players that I think it's just hard to know as a casual or even as a crazy fan like me why exactly things do or do not happen. We don't know what was actually offered or any of that. I really don't get why the Yankees would trade for Austin Slater. Why not call up Spencer Jones? Well, Spencer Jones hits lefty. Austin Slater hits righty, so they're filling two different needs there. I also think Spencer Jones is like a very delicate situation. Like his upside's clearly Aaron Judge level. He's basically putting up the same numbers as Judge did in AAA at relatively same age. He just was on an absolute burner recently where he hit like 15 homers or something in a month. But I think that his development is delicate, and they want to make sure they do that right and not short circuit the process. Also, they have a contending team. You can't be developing in the big leagues at this point. What else we got? I believe that the Yankees can win the World Series this year. No. Astros good deadline too. They got Correa and Cash. Okay, so we are going to now switch gears and we're going to go look at Carlos Correa because he did get traded back to the Astros from the Twins, where he had been the last few years. But as we all know, Carlos came up with the Astros, was a famous Astro, won the World Series a couple times with the Astros. Actually, only won it one time. He was gone. It was Jeremy Pena playing short the last time. But obviously a lot of controversy. This was a whole crazy thing going back to beating us when I was with the Yankees in 19, obviously in 17 with the cheating scandal and all that. But Carlos has been a great player for his career. If we go look at his career, 44.4 WAR. He was an all-star last year when he hit 310 for the Twins. But this year it's been a different story, and I think we want to look into a little bit of what we think might be going on with Carlos. So on the year, he's hitting 267 with a 319 on base and only a 386 slugging percentage. It's the lowest slugging percentage of his career. Batting average is respectable, but not nearly as good as it needs to be when you're not slugging. And this is the worst offensive season of his career to date with a 92 OPS plus. But even more troubling than that for me is his defensive value. Outs above average, he's at -2, only 27th percentile. And this is a guy who won the Platinum Glove at shortstop only a few years ago. So you got to look a little bit at some of the process stuff with Carlos to kind of try to figure out what may or may not be going on. If we go back a few years to his percentile rankings over the year, you can see that this isn't the first time that he's taken a step back as a player. 2018, 2020, I guess he was hurt in the middle there. But you can see those years, 25 expected WOBA in 18, 25th percentile, 33rd percentile in 2020. Even in 2023, he had dropped back to 53rd percentile before being an all-star last year. So I don't necessarily think that he's not capable of bouncing back because he's shown the ability to do that in the past. But one thing that is a little troubling to me is this speed number right here. As you can see, it's just a steady decline from when he's younger. And now he's at 27th percentile in speed. And I think that's a big deal because that manifests itself not only in getting extra base hits or being a factor on the base paths, but also defensively. And I think when I looked a little bit into his defensive stuff, he's now at 27th percentile and outs above average. And I think a lot of that is just a range problem. Seems like he's really having a hard time moving to his right. I'm wondering if some of this injury stuff is starting to actually affect Carlos a little bit on defense. In the chat, they did notice that he's having a really hard time with sliders this year. -4 run value on slider. And it's crazy because last year he crushed slider for +10 run value. So that's baseball. You hit 389 one year on slider. The very next year you're hitting 184. So you kind of wonder, what did he try to fix in the offseason? Was he trying to get back more on the fastball? And now that's made him struggle on the slider? Because the other thing that you notice in this percentile ratings that's really changed for him is the chase rate. For his whole career, minus 2020, which was a fake season anyway, he's been well above average in chase rate. But this year he's at 34%, 34th percentile in chase rate. Pretty hard to do anything when you're swinging at pitches out of the zone. Now, I'll be the first one to admit, I have not watched a ton of Carlos this year. But based off these metrics, I do think it's incredibly important and very telling that he's moving to third base when he goes to the Astros. This was the plan when he was going to sign with the Mets. And actually, funny quick story, me and him had our physicals on the same day because I re-signed with the Mets right around the same time that Carlos had agreed to a contract with the Mets. He flew into New York, and we ended up doing our physicals the same day. That's the only time I've ever talked to Carlos. He was super juiced to potentially be a Met at the time. He ended up giving me a ride back to my car after we all got evaluated. Obviously, we know that day. We all know how that day played out for him. They were worried about his leg or his ankle or foot or whatever it is, and the contract ended up not going through. He ended up signing with the Twins. But there has been a lot of injury scuttlebutt about him and how long he can hold up. But for my money, this is one of the best players I've ever played against, both offensively, defensively. He's got one of those great baseball brains. Him and Alex Bregman were around each other for a long time. I've got to know Bregman a little bit now. He's one of the smartest players I've ever met. So him and Carlos were talking shop, and they really know how to break down an approach and have really good game plans. But now it's a little bit of a physical thing. So let's see. Let's take stock in watching him for the first couple weeks back with the Astros. See if that rejuvenates him. Also at third base, how's he going to play at third base? Will his skill set be good there? Because he has excellent hands. Now he doesn't have to have as much range, which clearly is limiting him a little bit. But yeah, and offensively, the bat speed's still there, 79th percentile. I was actually looking through the bat speed leaderboard. Let me see if I can find that really quick while we're here. If you go look through the bat speed leaderboard, where is that batting? Bat tracking. And you go look at bat speed, and we go find Mr. Correa down here, number 46. Oh, didn't mean to do that. He's number 46. I mean, he's right in there with a lot of guys that are young and in their prime. Ben Rice, Jason Dominguez, Michael Harris, Fernando Tatis, Helio Ramos, Brent Rooker are all below him. So physically, he's not lost anything in terms of bat speed. So all the potential hitting is there. Got to fix the chase rate. Number one, let's take a look at his swing metrics and see if there's anything that jumps out there, whether he's getting a little too scoopy or whether he's getting, maybe a little too on top of the ball. I don't know. Let's find out. Because again, I haven't watched a ton of Carlos this year. And now I feel like I have to lock in a little bit. All right, so attack angle 9 degrees. MLB average is 10 degrees. That's pretty standard. Attack direction 3 degrees pull. And swing path is literally MLB average. So he's got a very average swing. I wonder what his swing length is. Let's go back and find that out. Because this is something that I've been keying in on lately. Swing length. Carlos Correa swing like 7.3 swing length. Where's that in the scheme of things? It's about league average. So it's a league average swing length, but well above average bat speed. So no real red flags there. in terms of his process. He just hasn't gotten it done this year. More so, I think, because some bad luck on batted balls. Like if you look at his expected batting average, it's 282. That's higher than 267, which is what he's clearly hitting. So he's getting robbed a little bit. Let's watch his homers. Let's see what we can see on the homers.
Of a potential CG. He gets
Garrett
one out.
Clevenger.
Uh-oh. Shot deep to left off the bat of Correa.
Right on left sinker down the middle. What's this one?
Kersey pinch hitting as the automatic runner.
All right, so middle in pull. This was also, I believe, a sinker.
Carlos Correa, a home run.
So if I'm facing him, I'm already like, I'm not throwing him a sinker.
For 9 innings.
Oh, another left on right.
Staff in the game, and Correa will add to it. This is a
92-4.
shot. Second
Wonder how he's doing on high velo. That could be a big problem. Oh, Brian Wu. This is not a good matchup. Oh, well, he hit it down. So clearly he's struggling. Well, I haven't seen him. I haven't watched his strikeouts or anything, but he's hitting a lot of pitches that don't have great carry on the balls he's homered. This is off my guy Tommy's. Probably a changeup. Yeah.
Clobbered to left.
So anything with like sinker type shape, those are the pitches he's driving. And if it's that obvious, then pitchers are going to just stop doing it. Yeah, 90-mile-an-hour heater. So high velo, you can probably throw him fastballs, but if it's medium velo or sinker shape, I think that would be a little bit of an issue to look at. Also, looking at his spray chart, he seems to really be dead pull. I mean, there's a couple balls in the right center gap. These are probably his best swings of the year, right? There's one off Cole Reagan's. Let's see how this looks.
Hit well.
Yeah, that's a really good swing right there.
And that will.
See what else we got.
Maybe that ball doesn't go
This
all
one's
the
off
way
of
through.
Cade Horton, the rookie.
Get in the gap. Oh yeah. Come on, Jeff. Let's go.
But everything else is very oppo. In fact, all the ground balls, a lot of ground balls to the left side that are actually hits. I don't know, maybe we like to see him use the whole field a little bit more. But again, the offensive tools are there. Let's cut down on the chase. And then defensively, maybe moving to third makes the big difference. So that's kind of my little look at Correa. How about we get in the comments? Let's get in the chat. Give me a arrow up or a thumbs up if you think Correa's on the rise with Houston, or a thumbs down if you think he's starting to decline and it just is not going to help him. So kind of like setting the over-under at his 705 OPS right now. Is he going to go above that after his time in Houston, or is he going to go below that? We'll set 705 as the over-under in the chat. And speaking of the chat, let me take a look. Yeah, he's wanted to move to third base for a few seasons now. Wasn't able to do it with Minnesota. Houston now has a replacement for Paredes' injury. Yep. It's interesting how Houston keeps letting these guys sign with other teams and then they bring them back. I mean, it happened with Verlander. And now it's happening with Correa. All right, we got some good thumbs up. So a couple people are voting that Correa is going to take his game up a notch going back to the Stros. Wow. Report in MLB, morning lineup that the Padres could eventually move Miller to rotation as a starter. Man, that would be a gamble, huh? Take a 104 mile an hour guy and move him to the rotation. Jabba Chamberlain, Daniel Bard, Aroldis Chapman, they tried a little bit. I don't know. Neftali Feliz, this has been tried a lot of times with the young flamethrower. It takes the right guy to do this. So you have to kind of get to know him and kind of see if he can do it. What else we got here? Only upside with this slugging. Altuve and him are good friends, and Pena's batting coach in the offseason moral boost. I do think that it's a good change of scenery. He goes back to somewhere he's comfortable, somewhere. I mean, he's going to get a huge standing ovation first day that he plays at the field there in Houston. I don't even know what it's called anymore. There's no thumb sideways emoji. Yeah, it's true. I think he's going to do better. I think third base is a big move, is a big thing for him. Definitely. All right. So that's all we got in the chat. All right, so there was only 3 games last night. There really wasn't a whole lot going on. There's a lot going on today. But yesterday, Yankees beat the Rays 7-4. Atlanta and Cincinnati had like a crazy 8th inning where I think both teams scored like 6 or more runs in the same inning. What exactly happened in this game? This was a crazy game. This was a crazy game. Yeah, this game got wild. But then the one that I wanted to key in on was the Mariners and the Rangers, because these two teams are in the fight. I don't know why my player breakdown clicks don't work anymore. But George Kirby was the starter for the Mariners. So I think we are going to hop into George Kirby's game from yesterday, and let's just speed watch it a little bit. This is a guy, full disclosure, I've always been a fan of him, mainly because of geography. He grew up in Rye, New York, which is kind of close to me. And anybody that's from New York area, I tend to root for. But let's go ahead and watch George Kirby pitch. I think he's got Cy Young upside, given that he's got one of the lowest walk rates all time. And it's kind of just finding his pitch mix in terms of controlling his contact, and then having the BABIP gods, the balls in play gods kind of go his way. And I think his upside is actually Cy Young. So I've been a huge fan of his. All right, let's speed watch this game. Let's see how he gets his out. See how we're just going to watch the result pitches and work backwards if we have to. First batter of the game.
In his place tonight,
Josh Smith. Rolls him over on a slider. Naylor takes it himself. It's the first out. And then a very weird thing for Kirby is a 5-pitch walk here to Corey Seager. It's a weird combination of a guy who swings at absolutely everything and a pitcher who never throws balls. And then because it's baseball, he walks him. Probably the most unlikely outcome there. Then we're going to get a little double play ball. Let's see if he goes inside with it to Marcus. Kind of middle, gets the chop. Nice play by Suarez. They turn the easy double play, and he's out of the first. He was way on top of this ball. Kind of curious how George got there, if he threw him any sinkers prior to that pitch. So he started him with, so 4-seam, slider, sinker. So this is the only sinker he saw before. Let's see where the location was.
here comes the 0-2.
Away. And then he kind of goes away from the sinker. He goes slider, 4-seam, and then he goes sinker. So this makes sense. Marcus got a little more accustomed to the 4-seam shape before seeing the sinker, and that's why he was a little on top of it and beat it in the ground. This is why it's so important to have both, if you can pull it off, 4-seam and sinker. Because you just don't get into a pattern. You don't get into this lazy habit of throwing the same pitch over and over again and then letting the hitter adjust to it. All right, second inning. Adolis Garcia. 97-1 on this 4-seam. Interesting that he got the chase on 3-2. Actually a pretty good swing by Adolis, but ends up being the first out. Here's Evan Carter.
1-1 to Carter.
A lot of middle location. Looks like they have Cal setting up middle for George a lot right here. There's a little fly out. I think I would pitch that style in Seattle a lot myself. Really good place to pitch. Hard place to leave the yard, especially to center.
Beginning to see it.
And then here's a 3-2 sinker to T-Rex arms. Wyatt Langford gets in on him just enough. So 3 flyouts in the second. Third inning actually starts it off with a leadoff walk to Jock Peterson. Tries to go for the comeback sinker, 3-2. And what happened here mechanically? So you can see here they do a good job. This is what I'm talking about with targeting a little bit earlier. Cal's over here, right, Raleigh? So he's basically saying, throw it right at me and you have all this plate to work with. And that's what, if George does drive the ball right here, he will throw a strike. But what ends up happening is the front side pulls a little too early, and then the arm's just late. And so he doesn't get to drive it there. Comes out a little bit off, and then that ball runs off the corner. So that's what happened there. A little mechanically, just got a little bit ahead of his hand. And one of the things I would always think about as a pitcher when I would do this, because every pitcher does this, is it's quiet body, fast hand. Don't try to do too much. Just think, get the hand there, get the hand where it's supposed to go. Your body will take care of the rest. You've been pitching forever. All right, so that's the leadoff walk, and now he gets back-to-back base runners as Rowdy gets a hit here on a sinker. Little crappy opposite field dribbler, but nobody was there. So he's got first and second, no outs. Let's see how he gets out of this inning. First, he gets Higgy, my guy. Let's see where this sinker's located. Yeah, impossible pitch to hit, up and in. It'll pop out to Gino, and then he's going to actually finish out the inning with 2 punchies. Let's see how he gets them. Huge pitch here, 3-2 slider.
And he tied him up
Oh,
with a
dirty pitch. This was a great at-bat, 9-pitch at-bat, but look how this ball comes out in the zone. Hold on. Comes out in the zone, and then goes to the kill spot, which is right here. Now, if this ball ends up here, it's probably crushed, but it gets to the kill spot, which is off the plate in. Josh Smith swings over the top for a huge strikeout for George, and then he's going to get out of the inning by striking out the great Corey Seager. Let's see how he gets him. Also a slider. Let's see the location. Does he get it to the
0-2 pitch.
off the plate? Wow, actually an accidental strikeout here. This ball pops away and actually plays as a backdoor strike, and looks like Corey attention was a little bit more in, and he wasn't able to adjust to this. So kind of a happy accident for Kirby there. Gets the strikeout, and he's through 3. And now we head to the 4th. Marcus Simeon got him out with a sinker the first time. He's going to stick with that approach. This time he really gets it in. Jams the crap out of him. Julio comes in, makes a sick sliding catch. George liking it. Doesn't he look like Spock a little bit there? I mean, he's not doing this, but with the ears. Anyway, let's watch Julio catch this ball again. Nice little slide, little backhand. All right, so that's the first out of the 4th. Evan Carter, no. Adolis. Last time he flew out on a 4-seam away. Let's see what he goes to here. Sinker in. So, yeah, you spam the 4-seam away, and then you run the sinker in on the righties. Basically impossible to hit both of them, or at least to cover both of them. So he's gotten already a couple outs jamming guys, and he's going to finish out the 4th with a strikeout of Evan Carter. 4 seams probably up. Interesting that it's not up at all. Evan Carter just swinging down the middle at a pitch that's outside. Kind of a weird swing. All right, we'll move on to the 5th. Wyatt Langford. Pretty good pass at a sinker the last time. Now they're going to go backdoor sinker. Love this target by Cal Raleigh. Ooh, good placement by Naylor, too, to be way over in the hole. All right, so this is something that I noticed a lot from my career. You try to go for the backdoor 2-seam with 2 strikes, and you can watch Cal's got a perfect target. This is where I want the target because then I can drive the ball back to the corner. But the fear with this pitch is that they kind of late barrel swing at it, and there's a huge hole in the right side usually during this type of thing, and that's exactly what there is here. But as you can see from the high home, Mariners do a good job of covering that hole with Naylor way off. Now, granted, you could get beat and dribble it down the line for a double here, but a lot of balls, a lot of times will go to this spot when you're late on the backdoor sinker. And it actually played out perfectly because that's exactly the type of batted ball he got. Naylor's there. And it's just the easy first out of the 5th. All right, Jock Peterson called out on strikes. Let's see what it is. Ooh, front hipper. It's a ball, but it's a great setup and it's a great catch by Cal Raleigh, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Once again, I love when you throw this pitch, this glove side sinker, to keep the catcher's center of mass slightly off the plate. That way you can drive it right at him and pull it back to the corner. Also, it gives a little better presentation for the catcher to help frame this ball for the umpire. And you can see here, as Cal kind of catches this ball, snapping it back towards the corner, and it happens so subtly and so fast that the umpire thinks it's on the corner. Yeah, I mean, he catches it there, but then moves his glove, into the zone. So really hard for the umpire to see that. And when it looks like you're reaching back towards the strike zone, it's going to sell that pitch even more to the umpire. So it's a good job by Cal Raleigh. All right, so that was Jock. And then Rowdy Tellez is going to fly out. Oof, that's that danger zone right there, where he just misses it. Now, people, a lot of times, the guy will foul ball straight back and they'll say, oh, he just missed it. No, my friend, you barely hit it. This is just missing it. I mean, this ball's in the danger zone, and it just gets missed by Rowdy. I mean, that swing looked like a homer, but unfortunately, he just didn't quite get it on the bat. On the barrel. So that's the end of the 5th, and there's one more inning in here that we'll watch real quick for George.
On July 4th.
Ooh, first punchy with the changeup.
Swing and a miss. As
Nasty.
That one darted down.
Perfect location, right below the zone. Look at this ball drop. Whoop. 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 Nasty. Now Josh Smith. Also the changeup. So breaking it out here in his final inning. The split. I think it's a split that he throws. It's got good action to it. Negative vertical break right here. 1.1. That's negative 1.1. It's very good. So 2 outs on changeups or splits. And then he does get himself in a little bit of trouble here. Third time through. Seager gets a hit. This time they don't cover that ball, and he dribbles it through. Seager gets a hit. Semion's going to get a double. He got blown up twice. Interesting that they threw him an off. Yeah. I don't really get this pitch call. They blew him up twice with sinker. He looked like he had no adjustment to it, and then they threw him a medium speed slider in the middle. So that almost drove in a run, but ended up with second and third. And then he's going to finish his scoreless outing by getting Adolis out. See where his last pitch ends up. Yeah, good spot. Gets the slider. Gets the chase off the plate. So it's 6 shutout for George Kirby. He's starting to roll again. Like I said, I'm a big fan of this guy. He has a historically low walk rate for his career. George Kirby. I mean, if we go over here to walks per 9, 1.5 the rookie year, less than 1 the next year to lead the league, and then he led the league again last year with 1.1, and this year he's at 2.3, which is like a meltdown for him. But if I ever had 2.3 walks per 9, I probably would have been one of the best pitchers in the league, because I don't know how anybody does that. You're trying to get people to swing at bad pitches. Sometimes you have to nibble. That's what the game requires. But to have that type of walk rate is actually incredible and really, really, really impressive. Quick question for the chat. Who's the best starting pitcher on the Mariners? Is it Wu? Is it Gilbert? Is it Castillo? Is it Kirby? Or is it Miller? Let's see if we can get that in the chat real quick. And we'll take stock of that as we are going to look at today's pitching probables. So the Speedway game doesn't start today. They're going to start this series. Yeah, that's why they're playing a day game on Friday. The Braves and the Reds. Elder and Singer going at it today from Cincinnati, Great American Ballpark, and then they'll head down to Tennessee, where they're going to play in front of like 85,000 people, which is dope. All right, Baltimore Orioles, Trevor Rogers, Cade Horton. So first time Cade's going after Trevor Rogers and the Orioles, and Trevor Rogers has actually been pretty good for the O's going against the Cubbies. Cubbies are in the fight. Orioles obviously just traded their whole bullpen, so we'll see. A lot of people saying they love Wu. Yeah, feels like Wu right now. It's hard to argue with that. I still love Logan Gilbert. Logan Gilbert's sick too. Like, this is a tough question. All right, Jack Flaherty, Ranger Suarez. Flaherty pitched really well his last outing. Suarez has been great all year. Detroit and Philly from the bank. Jose Quintana, my buddy, going against Mitchell Parker and the Nats. So lefty-lefty matchup in the nation's capital. We got Michael Wacha going against the TBA for the Blue Jays. I don't know how you have a TBA when you had an off day yesterday, but Wacha's been awesome. And the Royals need to pick it up if they're going to get in that wild card race. Hunter Brown versus the Red Sox. This should be a fun matchup. Hunter Brown, my inside information tells me that Alex Bregman was instrumental in Hunter Brown's turnaround. In fact, I think he might have been calling pitches from third base a little bit last year for him. So he was big on kind of pushing him to use both his sinker and his fastball. And ever since he's been doing that, Hunter Brown's been one of the best pitchers in the game. But now he's going up against the Red Sox. So it's interesting to see how Bregman and those boys game playing against Hunter Brown in Fenway tonight. Giants at the Mets. Crazy because Tyler Rogers is going to face his old team first game with the Mets. But these teams just played. Mets won the series in San Fran. This is a matchup of two good lefties, former Cy Young Award winner Robbie Ray and my buddy David Peterson, who's had a great year, was an all-star this year. So this is a fun lefty matchup. Joe Ryan, who nearly got traded yesterday, but they did not trade him for the Twins, going against Gavin Williams. Little AL Central action today. Yankees at Marlins. So, wow, Yankees had an off day in Miami yesterday. That must have been relaxing. Maybe got a good dinner down there. Maybe hit a little South Beach up. I don't know. But I'm sure they'll be ready to go today in the Marlins Park. It will be a Yankee game in Marlins Park today. It'll be all Yankee fans, all New Yorkers, which is such a weird dynamic when you play in a visiting team stadium. but it feels like a home game for you. And that's kind of the experience always with the Yankees, unless you're playing the Red Sox. But in Miami, I've had this experience with the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Yankees. Anytime you play in Miami with those teams, it's basically a home game for the visiting team. Kershaw, the GOAT, the legend, going up against the Rays, Steinbrenner Field. I want to see Kershaw finish his career really strong here, so I'd love to see him get it going so he can be a big part of them down the stretch. Haney and Sensatella from Coors. So we'll see how that's going. Haney's been doing some drop-down sinkers a little bit, so he's been trying to change his methods up. White Sox is TBA. I think they might have had my guy Adrian Hauser scheduled to play, but he got traded. So it's Tyler Anderson, another one of my former teammates, facing the White Sox today in Anaheim. Matthew Liberatore at the Padres and Nick Pivetta, in the midst of his best season ever. And the Padres are red hot. There was a little bit of action between my guy John Jay and Machado. These guys go way back. It's crazy that this is all a thing now, but we'll see how the San Diego fans greet my boy at first base. My first base coach, John Jay, they're probably going to give it to him a little bit, but he can handle it. No big deal. It's all good. And Merrill Kelly versus the A's in Sacramento. Oh, no, Merrill Kelly got traded. There's no way he's starting this game. So I don't know what's going to happen there. Jack Leiter and Logan Gilbert. This is the other one that I told you. I love Logan Gilbert. He's a dog, man. And Jack Leiter, he's stepped up. He's been pretty solid this year. And it's been good to see him get an extended run in the rotation for the Rangers. All right, so that's it for the probables. Let's get in the chat for a minute before I say goodbye for today. This has been really fun. We've had a great chat today. Thank you guys. All right, so a lot of votes for Woo, and I think that's probably the consensus right now. But man, it's tough, don't you guys think? That's why you can't count out the Mariners. They have so many good starters. They just literally added Suarez and Naylor from the Diamondbacks, so they stole the Diamondbacks corner infielders. Maybe that offense can pick it up. I think I'm hedging towards the Mariners being the team this year in the AL West. I think they can catch Houston. All right, what else we got? Adam, what's your rank on the teams? I'm not going to go through all of my power rankings yet. I don't really feel like I have enough information yet. Give me another couple days. Thoughts on Rogers, how efficient he's been, especially coming from you. Do you think an orthodox position motion helps you deceive pitches better? I mean, there's no doubt about it. We can go ahead and watch a little bit of Taylor Rogers really quick, because I did this yesterday on my stream. But obviously I know I have a lot of different eyeballs today. And let me go ahead and look at the main screen while I show you some Tyler Rogers pitches. Because he just pitched against the Mets. So this is a sinker thrown from the damn ground. There's the release point, and he's cross-body. And it's got this, which is an unheard of vertical break number. So even though the ball's coming up, the way he's releasing it is forcing it downward. So it's got like an up-down effect. Plus, it's from an arm angle that you can't practice. There's no pitching machine in the world that'll throw you pitches from this angle, unless maybe there's some sort of softball machine I don't know about. But certainly none that I've seen in a big league stadium. So he's got that. And then he's also... So here's another sinker. And I just think as a hitter, because you can't practice it, you just kind of have to go up there and see the ball hit the ball. And if you try to overthink it, you're not going to figure it out. And, you know, you can see that's 84, 3 sinkers in a row. Beatty has no idea where to expect that ball coming from. And if you want to watch even more domination, watch this at-bat versus Acuna. So here's the rising slider. Check out this ball rise. So you got a rising slider, a really sinky sinker, and an arm angle that simply nobody else has seen. He gets a lot of quick contact. It's all weak, crappy ground balls, weak pop-ups. This guy's just kind of a nightmare to face, and I think he's valuable in a couple ways that are under the radar. Look at this. Oh, chases the rising, sweeping slider. And the big key that he got to even get him to swing at this pitch was actually this called strike right here. If he doesn't dot this outside corner, then he won't get anybody to chase that pitch off the corner. But since he dotted that, now Acuna had to honor anything that started away. And then you can see that this pitch, the slider starts away, and it just keeps going. So that's kind of the approach that Rogers is giving you. But again, like, it's just, you can't practice it. I think you have to go up there and see the ball hit the ball against him. And that's really tough. But the reason why I think he's so valuable is not only can he post all the time and pitch more than anybody else, but also like sometimes you bring a guy like this in like in a really sticky situation, like bases loaded, 1 out, and you can be pretty sure he's going to get the ball on the ground, and you might get the chance for that miraculous double play to get you out of trouble, which is always like just the sickest thing if you can do it. Strikeout pitcher not always the best in that situation because they're usually going to walk you, strike you out, and it's kind of tough to kind of force it in that way. But you have that ground ball in your game, that's another way out. It's kind of a get out of jail free card. So the Mets would be curious to see if Mendoza and the Mets use Rogers in any of those types of spots. What do you think about Marcell Ozuna and Sandy Alcantara not being traded? I'm a little surprised about Sandy. I was fully expecting some team to make a big run at Sandy, but it kind of tells me that the Marlins set the price really high on him and nobody was willing to mix it. He has had kind of a weird year. Contact numbers have been awful for Sandy. He has pitched better his last 2 or 3, but I think they'll revisit that in the offseason. I think Marlins are looking to rebuild some value for Sandy. What else we got in here? Yeah, no, I talked about the Yankees playing yesterday. All right, I think that might be it from the chat. We already looked at the games. There's some exciting games today. Definitely keep a heads up for the game at the Speedway tomorrow and the next day. Reds Braves. That's going to be a spectacle. Kind of wish I could go and fly my drone over that, take some pictures. I don't know, something like that. But that should be really, really cool. I really like that MLB is doing a good job kind of mixing up these special events. The Rickwood game was cool. The Field of Dreams was awesome a couple years back. The Speedway game is going to be really, really awesome. I don't know if that anybody's ever played in this type of venue before. So anytime it's the first time, it's awesome and should be a fun event for the fans and for the players. But we are going to wrap it up today on Baseball and Coffee. This has been great. The chat's been awesome. Please, please, please come see me over at Adam Ottavino 0. My YouTube page. We're doing this almost every day, digging in on whatever happened the previous night, having a little coffee, talking a little baseball. It makes it a lot more fun when I have the chat. We're going to start having guests pretty soon, and I think that's going to be really great. Yep, tomorrow night in Bristol, Tennessee. That's where that Speedway game is, 7 p.m. on Fox. Don't miss it. And I just want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's really awesome. This has been a lot of fun, and I'll see you next week on MLB. But if you want to join me over on my channel, Adam Ottavino 0, ZERO, on YouTube, you certainly can. We'll be there almost every morning the rest of the season. So thanks so much.